3. From separation to collaboration, social and community side. 3.1. Where do we come from? Why do we struggle to collaborate? We live under a capitalist economic system. Capitalism is based on the private ownership of the means of production and the creation of goods and services for profit. It has been the dominant economic system in the world for the past few centuries, and has brought about significant economic growth and prosperity. However, it has also been criticized for its impact on the environment and its contribution to social and economic inequality. It tends to accumulate wealth, resources, and power in the hands of a small portion of the population, and its dynamics can contribute to significant socio-economic disparities at all levels between rich and poor, and between developed and developing countries. Consequently, distinct socio-economic classes appear, resulting in different life experiences, access to resources and opportunities, exploitation of workers. This eventually creates a sense of separation between the haves and the have-nots. Since this economic system thrives on consumerism, it focuses on material wealth, status, and commodifying social relationships, which creates a culture of competition, comparison, individualism, and self-interest. All these circumstances contribute to a sense of separation and disconnection, foster and perpetuate division among individuals, undermining collective values and interpersonal connections and contributing to social and economic inequalities. In the context of climate change, capitalism has been a major driving force behind the greenhouse gas emissions that are causing global temperatures to rise. The pursuit of profit has led to the exploitation of natural resources, the overconsumption of fossil fuels, the destruction of natural habitats, and the displacement of communities. Climate change exacerbates existing social and economic inequalities for various reasons. First of all, it affects different regions and communities unequally, as some regions may experience more severe consequences. Low-income individuals, ethnic minorities, and indigenous peoples often bear the brunt of climate impacts, due to limited resources to adapt to and recover from disruptions caused by climate change or displacements due to rising sea level, or desertification. They also lack adequate infrastructure and have limited access to information and decision-making processes. All these circumstances deepens divisions and disconnects within society. Addressing climate change often requires making difficult decisions that may impact certain industries, jobs, or economic sectors. Disagreements over strategies, regulations, and economic priorities can lead to divisions and hinder collective action. There are still individuals who, due to the complex nature of climate change, feel apathy or a sense of helplessness. Others deny or downplay its existence and remain skeptical or resistant to change. These groups are confronted by those who are very concerned and active, evidencing a disconnection and raising discrepancies between these groups. These are some of the reasons why society is divided and struggles to collaborate and join collective efforts to address climate change. In order to address the social and environmental challenges posed by climate change, it will be necessary to fundamentally rethink the way in which we organize our societies and economies, turn to those based on principles of sustainability and cooperation, and mainly educate the population. Short history of capitalism and social disruptions in the climate change context. The advent of climate change has had profound implications for social systems, particularly within the context of capitalism. Capitalism, as we have explained before, has played a significant role in shaping the response to climate change and has contributed to social disruptions in various ways. Its inherent and relentless pursuit of profit has contributed to the emission of greenhouse gases, deforestation, and other environmental degradation, accelerating the pace of climate change. As a result, vulnerable communities, particularly those in developing countries, have faced the brunt of climate impacts, including food and water scarcity, displacement, and loss of livelihoods. Moreover, the capitalist system prioritizes short-term financial gains, often at the expense of long-term environmental and social well-being. Fossil fuel industries, deeply intertwined with capitalism, have influenced policymaking and perpetuated a reliance on carbon-intensive energy sources, hindering the transition to renewable alternatives. This has resulted in a slower response to climate change and a failure to adequately address its consequences, exacerbating social inequalities and disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. Capitalism's pursuit of financial gain has led to the privatization and exploitation of natural resources, often disregarding the ecological value and the rights of local communities, creating further disparities and social conflicts, due to the unequal distribution of environmental benefits and burdens. In addition, capitalism fosters a consumerist culture that perpetuates social divisions, by creating a sense of status and identity based on material possessions, further reinforcing inequalities within society. Recognizing the interplay between capitalism, social disruptions, and climate change is crucial for fostering more equitable and sustainable solutions. It requires reimagining economic systems that prioritize social and environmental well-being alongside economic prosperity, promoting alternative models such as regenerative economies, cooperative enterprises, and policies that prioritize the needs of communities and the planet. 3.2. Where are we now? Racism and individualism. Racism and individualism are two interconnected concepts that have significant impacts on societies, particularly within the context of social systems like capitalism. Racism refers to the belief in the inherent superiority or inferiority of individuals based on their race or ethnicity. It involves the systematic discrimination, marginalization, and oppression of certain racial or ethnic groups, leading to unequal treatment, opportunities, and access to resources. It is deeply ingrained in social structures and institutions, perpetuating power imbalances and reinforcing social hierarchies. Racism has played a significant role in shaping economic systems and power dynamics. Historical exploitation and colonization have led to the accumulation of wealth and resources in the hands of dominant racial groups, while marginalized racial groups have been systematically disadvantaged and excluded from economic opportunities. This legacy of racial injustice continues to manifest in various forms, such as income and wealth disparities, employment discrimination, and limited access to education and healthcare. Individualism, for its part, is a cultural value that emphasizes the importance of individual rights, freedoms, and achievements. It promotes self-reliance, personal autonomy, and the pursuit of individual goals and desires. While individualism can have positive aspects, such as personal growth and self-expression, it can also contribute to social divisions and hinder collective efforts to address global issues, like climate change. In the context of capitalism, the pursuit of individual success, wealth accumulation, and material possessions are often prioritized over collective well-being or social and environmental considerations. This individualistic mindset can lead to a lack of empathy and solidarity, as well as a disconnect from the broader social and ecological consequences of individual actions. Thus, shifting from an individualistic mindset to a collective one is essential for fostering collaboration, solidarity, and collective action. Racism and individualism are interconnected in multiple ways and play significant roles in shaping social dynamics and exacerbating the challenges we face. Racism perpetuates and reinforces individualistic ideologies by creating divisions and hierarchies based on race, leading to a sense of entitlement and privilege for dominant racial groups. Individualism, on the other hand, can reinforce racial disparities by prioritizing personal interests over collective justice and systemic change. Both racism and individualism pose significant challenges in addressing pressing issues such as climate change, social inequality, and injustice. Therefore, overcoming these challenges requires recognizing the interconnectedness of these oppressive systems. It involves, on the one hand, challenging individualistic mindsets and dismantling racial and power hierarchies. On the other hand, it requires promoting racial justice and collective responsibility, cultivating empathy, allyship, and solidarity, amplifying the voices of marginalized communities, and ensuring equitable access to resources, opportunities, and decision-making processes. Building community resilience, fostering social cohesion, and prioritizing the well-being of people and the planet over profit are crucial steps towards a more equitable and sustainable future. Consumerism and growthism/gadgetism. Growthism continues to be a dominant ideology, nowadays, in many parts of the world today, particularly in capitalist economies. It refers to the belief that continuous economic growth is essential for societal progress and well-being. It is an ideology that prioritizes increasing GDP, gross domestic product, and measures of economic output as indicators of success and development. This perspective places a heavy emphasis on the expansion of production and consumption as the primary drivers of prosperity. The concept of growthism is closely tied to the prevailing economic system, particularly capitalism, which relies on continuous growth to fuel profits and maintain stability. It is rooted in the assumption that economic growth leads to various societal benefits, such as job creation, increased standards of living, and technological advancement. However, growthism has come under scrutiny due to its negative environmental and social consequences. The relentless pursuit of economic growth often results in the overexploitation of natural resources, environmental degradation, and biodiversity loss. It contributes to the generation of greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, as well as the depletion of finite resources. Moreover, growthism tends to prioritize economic indicators over social well-being and equity. It can exacerbate income inequality, as economic gains may disproportionately benefit the wealthy while leaving marginalized communities behind. Critics argue that an exclusive focus on GDP growth as a measure of progress is inadequate, as it fails to capture important aspects of human development and sustainability. Alternative metrics, such as the Genuine Progress Indicator, GPI, or the Social Progress Index, SPI, have been proposed as more comprehensive ways to evaluate societal well-being beyond economic growth. It also perpetuates a culture of consumerism, where material accumulation is prioritized over other aspects of human well-being, such as health, education, and social connections. Consumerism refers to a social and economic ideology that encourages the acquisition and consumption of goods and services, often driven by the desire for personal satisfaction, status, and identity. It is a cultural phenomenon that has been prevalent in many societies, particularly those influenced by capitalist systems. It is characterized by the belief that happiness and fulfillment can be achieved through the accumulation of material possessions, and it promotes a culture of constant consumption. Consumerism is fueled by various factors, including advertising, marketing strategies, societal pressures, and the availability of credit. It has become deeply ingrained in many aspects of modern life, influencing individual behavior, social norms, and economic systems. However, it has negative consequences, particularly in the context of sustainability and the environment, as it contributes to environmental degradation, resource depletion, pollution, generation of waste and greenhouse gas emissions, etc. Moreover, it also contributes to social inequality, as access to desirable products and lifestyles becomes a marker of social status, further perpetuating disparities. In relation to consumerism, nowadays, we also find the phenomenon of gadgetism, which describes the excessive current fascination and reliance on gadgets and technological devices. It reflects a societal preoccupation with acquiring and utilizing the latest gadgets, often driven by the desire for novelty, convenience, and social status. It is closely tied to the rapid pace of technological advancements and the constant introduction of new gadgets into the market, each promising to enhance our lives and provide new experiences. Even though gadgets can offer numerous benefits, it can contribute to a culture of constant consumption and rapid obsolescence, leading to electronic waste and the depletion of natural resources required for manufacturing and disposal. Moreover, it can lead to reduced face-to-face interactions and increased screen time, which can negatively impact mental health, social relationships, physical activity, and well-being. This culture of consumerism with all its tendencies plays a significant role in exacerbating the climate and environmental crisis, and social and economic inequalities and injustice. The wrong assumption of the domination of human beings over the earth and capital over ethics. The assumption of human domination over the earth and the prioritization of capital over ethics have roots in historical and philosophical developments and have been a pervasive mindset in modern society. It is important to note that these approaches have evolved and adapted over time, shaped by various historical, cultural, and social factors. This worldview stems from anthropocentrism, the belief that human beings are the central and most important entities in the natural world, and from the dominance of capitalist systems that prioritize profit and economic growth above all else. The notion of human domination over the earth has led to the exploitation and degradation of natural resources, environmental destruction, and the disregard for the interconnectedness and interdependence of all living beings. It has perpetuated a mindset that sees nature as a resource to be exploited for human benefit, without considering the long-term consequences for ecological balance and sustainability. Similarly, the prioritization of capital over ethics in capitalist systems has resulted in the pursuit of profit, at the expense of social and environmental well-being. This has led to the exploitation of workers, widening income inequalities, and the degradation of natural ecosystems. The pursuit of economic growth and material wealth has often overshadowed ethical considerations, such as social justice, human rights, and environmental preservation. This mindset has had profound negative consequences on the planet and its inhabitants. Climate change, loss of biodiversity, deforestation, pollution, and social injustices are among the many challenges resulting from these assumptions. Critiques and alternative perspectives have also emerged throughout history, challenging the assumptions of human domination and advocating for more ethical and sustainable approaches to the environment and society. The emergence of environmental and social justice movements and sustainability initiatives in recent decades reflects a growing consciousness about the need to re-evaluate our relationship with the Earth and prioritize ethics alongside economic considerations. Recognizing the limitations of this way of thinking is crucial for shifting towards an ecocentric perspective, which recognizes the inherent value and interconnectedness of all life forms, and adopting ethical frameworks that prioritize social and environmental considerations. We should promote sustainable practices, support ethical business models, advocate for social and environmental justice, and foster a deeper connection and respect for the natural world. Climate change, migration, and refugees. As the Earth's climate rapidly changes, it poses significant challenges to communities and ecosystems, leading to disruptions in livelihoods, environmental degradation, and increased vulnerability to natural disasters, like sea level rise, flooding, drought, extreme weather events, resource scarcity, etc. Due to these adverse events, some people are being forced to cross borders, seeking for new locations that offer better prospects for survival and well-being. They may relocate to safer areas, seek better access to resources, or search for new livelihood opportunities. This is known as climate change migration. It can be an internal displacement, which means that some people are forced to leave their homes and move within their own countries, or it can imply crossing international borders. These later are known as climate change refugees or environmental migrants, and they might also move due to conflicts and social unrest exacerbated by environmental degradation. In some cases, governments and communities may decide to relocate entire populations from areas that are deemed increasingly uninhabitable due to climate change. These planned relocations aim to mitigate the risks and protect the well-being of vulnerable communities. Climate change migration poses significant challenges for both the migrants and the receiving communities. Migrants often face numerous obstacles, including loss of property and livelihoods, social dislocation, and risks associated with the migration journey. Receiving communities may also struggle to accommodate and integrate large influxes of migrants, placing strains on resources, infrastructure, and social cohesion. This is a complex and multifaceted issue that intersects with other social, economic, and political factors and requires comprehensive and coordinated efforts and support adaptation strategies at the national, regional, and international levels. We need to place the focus on protecting and assisting people displaced by climate change, advocate for policy frameworks, support systems that enhance the integration of migrants, protect their rights and well-being, and address their needs. As youth workers, it is important to be aware of such circumstances, educate the population, advocate for sustainable development, and address the root causes of climate change and environmental degradation. By understanding and addressing the challenges and implications of climate change-induced migration, we can work towards developing inclusive and equitable solutions to protect the rights and livelihoods of affected individuals, and build resilient communities. Social justice in climate change context. Social justice refers to the concept of fairness, equality, and equitable distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges in society. It encompasses the idea that every individual can live with dignity, should have equal rights, their voices heard, access to basic needs, and equal opportunities to thrive and reach their full potential, success, and well-being. This implies addressing systemic inequalities, challenging discrimination and prejudice, and promoting a society that values diversity, inclusivity, and human rights. In the context of climate change, social justice acknowledges that climate change disproportionately affects marginalized and vulnerable communities, who often have limited resources and power to adapt or mitigate its effects. That is why it tries to ensure fairness and equality in addressing its impacts, policies, and actions. Climate justice calls for responsibilities and actions that are commensurate with these disparities, and advocates for climate action that takes into account historical, social, and economic contexts. Social justice demands that climate change responses prioritize the needs of those most affected, marginalized communities, indigenous peoples, low-income populations, and developing countries. It calls for fair distribution of resources, opportunities, and benefits, to ensure that no group is disproportionately burdened or excluded. As it requires the meaningful participation and inclusion of all stakeholders in decision-making processes related to climate change, it attempts to engage marginalized communities, indigenous peoples, youth, women, and other marginalized groups in policy development, planning, and implementation. Diverse perspectives and knowledge are essential for effective and equitable climate action. Those who believe in social justice uphold and promote human rights, including the rights to clean air, water, food, health, and a safe environment, while trying to guarantee that climate policies and actions do not exacerbate existing social injustices. Several movements are working to achieve social justice in society. These movements are working toward the realization of a world where all members of a society, regardless of background or procedural justice, have basic human rights and equal access to the benefits of their society. Given that it advocates for a just transition to a low-carbon and sustainable future, social justice emphasizes the need to support workers and communities affected by the transition away from carbon-intensive industries, ensuring that they have access to alternative livelihoods, training, and support for a fair and inclusive transition. Social justice recognizes the interconnections between climate change and other social injustices, such as poverty, racism, gender inequality, and colonialism. It acknowledges that addressing climate change requires addressing these systemic issues, if we want to achieve a more just and sustainable society. 3.3. Where are we heading? Community resilience and community building through eco-related actions. Inclusive and welcoming to people from diverse backgrounds activities during our youth work can ensure that everyone feels respected, valued, and included in the discussions and decision-making processes. This can also be applied to related climate change actions. That is why we should focus on designing community-building activities and events, so as to foster a sense of collective responsibility and empowerment within a community to address environmental challenges, creating spaces and opportunities for community members to connect, celebrate, and support one another fosters social cohesion and well-being. These could be collaborative eco-themed events, community gardens, festivals, and climate action campaigns, which bring together individuals from different backgrounds to work towards a common goal, strengthen community bonds, inspire positive change, and promote a sense of belonging, ownership, and empowerment. During these events, we should promote empathy, understanding, and open and respectful dialogue about their concerns and ideas about climate change. We could also organize activities that promote cross-cultural exchanges and interactions, like cultural festivals or food-sharing events where individuals can learn about different cultural traditions related to sustainability and climate change. We should encourage teamwork, shared responsibilities, and the recognition of diverse skills and expertise. Promoting environmental education and awareness within the community about environmental issues, their impacts, and sustainable practices is essential to help community members understand the importance of their actions and encourage them to make informed choices. For this reason, we have to ensure that the information is accessible and understandable to individuals from various educational backgrounds, so that they can actively participate in climate change mitigation and adaptation efforts. To strengthen community bonds and create a shared vision for a sustainable future, we could engage individuals, organizations, and local businesses in collaborative efforts, such as community gardens, clean-up drives, and renewable energy projects. Other kinds of opportunities for community members to develop skills related to environmental sustainability, which promote self-reliance and resilience, is to offer workshops, training programs, and hands-on experiences in areas like composting, energy conservation, and organic gardening, which equip individuals with practical tools to make a positive impact. It is also useful to build connections and partnerships with like-minded organizations that specialize in diversity and inclusion, institutions, universities, environmental groups, and local authorities, since it can help access resources, expertise, and funding for eco-related projects and community-building initiatives. It also allows for sharing best practices, learning from other communities, and strengthening community resilience. This strategy can include seeking the involvement of local leaders, Influencers and organizations who can help bridge the gap between different communities, to spread awareness about climate change and inspire collective action. Initiatives such as waste reduction and recycling programs, rainwater harvesting, community-based renewable energy projects, or sustainable land use planning promote self-sufficiency, reduce environmental impacts, and enhance the community's ability to withstand and recover from environmental challenges. This can be crucial for community resilience at local level. We can influence policy changes and create a more supportive environment for eco-related actions by empowering community members to advocate for environmentally friendly policies, engage with decision makers, grassroots movements, etc. A strategic approach to such activities is the creation of opportunities for ongoing engagement and involvement, like establishing community-based committees, organizing regular meetings or workshops, and providing platforms for continued collaboration and idea sharing. We can help individuals from different backgrounds come together, build meaningful connections, and collaborate effectively in the collective fight against climate change, while enhancing the quality of life of all community members. The importance of interculturality and transnationality in the climate change youth work context. Addressing climate change is a complex and challenging work. Youth work can contribute to tackle its effects and reduce its root causes, by educating and supporting youth to create a more sustainable world. In this context, interculturality and transnationality play crucial roles, as it creates opportunities for dialogue, collaboration, and mutual learning. They enable young people to develop a global perspective, embrace diversity, and work together towards a better future. Interculturality brings together individuals from different cultural backgrounds, allowing for a rich exchange of ideas, knowledge, and experiences, as each culture may have unique insights and approaches to environmental issues. This diversity of perspectives has shown to be helpful to broaden young people's perspectives on climate change, enhance problem solving, safeguard ecological wisdom and cultural preservation, and foster innovative solutions to address climate challenges. Learning about the climate change impacts faced by communities around the world helps individuals develop a deeper sense of empathy and compassion. It encourages them to stand in solidarity with those affected by climate change and work collectively towards sustainable solutions. Since climate change is a global issue that transcends national boundaries, this cross-cultural learning promotes a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness between different communities, and their shared responsibility for the planet. Transnationality, which involves collaborating across countries and regions, is essential for addressing climate change effectively, in the sense that it strengthens global networks and enables joint efforts to advocate for climate action on an international scale. Both interculturality and transnationality provide a platform for young people to influence climate change policies, at local, national, and global levels. They can amplify their voices and advocate for policies that prioritize sustainability and environmental justice, by uniting across cultures and nations. This collective advocacy has the potential to drive significant change in policies and practices related to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Seeing the efforts and successes of young activists and environmental leaders from diverse backgrounds can ignite a sense of hope and determination. Young people are inspired to overcome challenges and contribute to the global movement for a sustainable future. A better engagement of disadvantaged youth. As we have seen, climate change affects everyone, regardless of their socio-economic background. If we want to promote a more inclusive and representative approach to addressing climate challenges, we need to engage disadvantaged youth in the fight against climate change, as it is essential for fostering inclusivity, environmental justice, and sustainable development. Youth work has the opportunity to amplify their voices, perspectives, and concerns, and empower them to become catalysts for positive change in their communities. If we involve them in environmental care actions, climate change discussions, or decision-making processes, we can instill in them a sense of ownership and agency over their future and the ability to make a positive impact. Moreover, it is an opportunity to boost their confidence and belief in their ability to effect change. As disadvantaged communities are often disproportionately affected by the impacts of climate change, engaging them in climate action allows them to address environmental justice issues and advocate for solutions that prioritize the needs and well-being of their communities. It is a direct way to bridge the gap between environmental sustainability and social equity. Their particular experience allows us to consider new perspectives on the topic, fostering critical thinking and innovative solutions and approaches to climate change mitigation and adaptation, and local relevant strategies. Involving disadvantaged youth in the climate change action also provides them with the chance to address these interconnected issues holistically, fostering comprehensive and sustainable solutions, and ensures that decisions made today consider the long-term implications for future generations. Disadvantaged youth's engagement and empowerment not only benefits the youth themselves, but also contributes to the broader goal of social equity and justice. Empowerment. Now, we will describe some strategies that can help youth workers empower disadvantaged youth, in their activities in general and in climate change initiatives in particular, as they have a big potential as agents of positive change. Empowering marginalized and disadvantaged youth is a critical endeavor that requires concerted efforts to ensure their active participation and representation in addressing pressing environmental challenges. This process of empowerment encompasses several pivotal dimensions. First of all, we have to conduct outreach efforts in underserved communities, actively reaching out to youth who may face systemic disadvantages or marginalization. Then, it is important to ensure that the programs and initiatives we undertake are accessible to disadvantaged youth, by removing barriers, financial constraints, transportation limitations, or language barriers. With their involvement in such activities, we offer them valuable learning opportunities to build their knowledge and understanding of environmental issues, sustainable practices, and the interconnectedness of global challenges, but also equip themselves with skills and expertise that can contribute to their personal growth, educational pursuits, and future employment opportunities. We can develop programs focused on areas like sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, conservation, climate resilience, and environmental advocacy. They all comprehend relevant skills that these youth can acquire to enhance their employability, entrepreneurial aptitude, leadership potential, and facilitate their active participation in the green economy or actions. Likewise, awareness activities play a crucial role in equipping disadvantaged youth with the knowledge and critical thinking skills needed to understand climate change and its far-reaching implications. This way, these young individuals will be empowered to make informed decisions and actively contribute to sustainable solutions. Normally, underprivileged groups face multiple challenges, so they may have unique needs and circumstances. Thus, we have to pay attention to their schedules, responsibilities, or constraints to provide holistic support, including access to social services, mental health support, or resources for basic needs. Their overall well-being will facilitate them to fully participate and engage in other actions. We will be more successful if we develop programs and activities that resonate with the cultural backgrounds, interests, preferences, and experiences of disadvantaged youth with whom we work. Therefore, it will be useful to incorporate their voices and perspectives in the planning and implementation processes of our activities, to ensure relevance and authenticity. Furthermore, we could stimulate their participation in decision-making processes, involving them in organizing events, facilitating workshops, or leading community initiatives. This action will empower them to take on leadership roles, and facilitate their engagement and commitment in global social and environmental movements, as they will find a place where their opinions and ideas are valued and taken into account. On the other hand, in order to be empowered, people need to have access to essential resources, such as financial support, technological advancements, infrastructural provisions, or networks. Thus, we have to provide equal opportunities for these young individuals to thrive and actively contribute to climate solutions. By forging strong connections between these individuals and diverse stakeholders, including community organizations, non-governmental entities, governmental agencies, businesses, and academic institutions, we can create a supportive ecosystem. They can offer mentorship, resource mobilization, and opportunities for collective action, enabling disadvantaged youth to have a meaningful impact. Another aspect that can help empower disadvantaged youth is developing their advocacy skills and promoting active engagement with climate-related policies. This way, they can effectively communicate their concerns, network with relevant actors, and contribute to policy changes that prioritize environmental sustainability and social justice. At the same time, it is necessary to offer them mentorship and positive role models who can inspire and guide them, as they might need further support and encouragement. With our guidance and that of other local related institutions, we can help youth navigate challenges and build confidence. Additionally, fostering peer support networks promotes solidarity, resilience, and overall well-being, further empowering these young individuals. A strategic plan includes establishing long-term relationships with these groups of young people, to ensure their future involvement and provide continued opportunities for growth and development. Permaculture community projects. The term permaculture comes from the combination of permanent agriculture and permanent culture. It is based on three core ethics: earth care, people care, and fair share. These ethics guide the design and implementation of sustainable, regenerative, and resilient systems that prioritize the well-being of the planet, the people, and the equitable distribution of resources. Permaculture offers a pathway for individuals and communities to live in harmony with nature, restore ecosystems, and address environmental and social challenges, while fostering community engagement. Permaculture community projects provide tangible and meaningful ways for youth and communities to engage in sustainable practices, promote local resilience, and contribute to addressing environmental challenges, while offering a holistic approach to community development, integrating ecological principles with social and economic considerations. Now, we share some ideas to carry out during our youth work of potential permaculture community projects that showcase the diverse range of projects that can be implemented to create sustainable, resilient, and thriving communities. Establish communal gardens where community members come together to grow their own food using permaculture principles, as they will become spaces for education, food production, and community building. Create self-sustaining ecosystems that mimic natural forests, where a variety of edible plants, trees, and shrubs are planted, which promotes biodiversity and reduces the need for external inputs. Set up community composting initiatives to reduce organic waste and produce nutrient-rich compost. It will not only educate residents on composting techniques, but it will also encourage waste reduction and provide a valuable resource for the community gardens. Organize workshops and training programs that teach community members about permaculture principles and design strategies, so that they can implement such practices in their own homes and neighborhoods. Establish demonstration sites where people can learn about permaculture principles through hands-on experiences and workshops. Collaborate with local authorities and organizations to implement green infrastructure solutions, such as rainwater harvesting systems, green roofs, and permeable pavement, with the aim of enhancing biodiversity and creating more sustainable urban environments. Create networks or seed libraries where community members can exchange and preserve heirloom and locally adapted seeds, as it fosters sovereignty and preserves biodiversity. Launch community-wide campaigns to raise awareness about waste reduction and encourage recycling and upcycling practices, or foster circular economy and help minimize the environmental impact of waste. Permaculture community projects are a comprehensive way to achieve sustainable goals, which create spaces for collaboration and mutual support, as individuals come together to work towards a common goal of sustainability and resilience. They are very useful activities since they also allow opportunities for networking, sharing knowledge, and strengthening community bonds. 3.4. How do we work on those topics with youth? Youth Workers Treasure Chest: Informal and Non-Formal Educational Practical Methods of Work. This chapter will focus on how informal educational resources and activities can be used by youth workers and educators to help young people understand and reflect on social issues that interfere in the fight against climate and to build a supportive community. We present the activity Uncovering Barriers to Collaboration, to explore the reasons why people struggle to collaborate in the context of climate change, encouraging participants to critically reflect on barriers, develop empathy, and generate strategies for overcoming collaboration challenges. It promotes self-awareness, understanding, and the development of effective collaboration skills necessary for addressing climate change collectively. Instructions. Introduce the topic of collaboration and its importance in addressing climate change, and conduct a short icebreaker activity to create a positive and inclusive atmosphere among the participants. Facilitate a brainstorming session where participants can freely share their thoughts and experiences on collaboration. Encourage them to identify the main challenges, barriers, or reasons why collaboration is difficult in the context of climate change. Divide participants into small groups and assign them specific barriers to discuss in detail. Each group should explore one or two barriers and consider why they exist, how they manifest in climate change initiatives, and the impact they have on collaboration. Invite each group to present their assigned barriers to the whole group, facilitating a discussion after each presentation. Encourage participants to share their perspectives, insights, and personal experiences related to the barriers presented. Engage participants in a deeper exploration of the root causes behind the identified barriers, facilitating a guided discussion that encourages critical thinking and analysis of societal, cultural, psychological, and systemic factors that contribute to these barriers. Conduct an empathy-building activity where participants are put in the shoes of people with different perspectives or interests. They will develop a better understanding of the challenges faced by others and promote empathy as a key element for collaboration. Shift the focus from barriers to solutions by facilitating a discussion on strategies for overcoming collaboration challenges. Invite participants to share their ideas, experiences, and successful practices they have implemented, considering creative approaches, communication strategies, building trust, fostering inclusive decision-making processes, etc. Tell participants to identify specific actions they can take to improve collaboration in their own lives and climate change initiatives. Encourage them to set achievable goals, develop concrete steps, and consider potential obstacles and ways to overcome them. Provide a reflective space and facilitate a closing discussion where participants can share their insights and commitments to fostering collaboration in climate change initiatives. An activity to explore the relationship between capitalism and social disruptions in relation to climate change is Capitalism and Us. This activity encourages critical thinking, analysis of systems, and reflection on alternative models, fostering awareness of the social and economic implications of capitalism, and the need for systemic change to address climate change and promote social justice. Instructions. Introduce the topic and conduct a warm-up activity that sparks participants' curiosity and initiates a discussion about the connections between capitalism and social issues. Provide a brief overview of capitalism and its key principles, and facilitate a discussion to ensure participants have a basic understanding of capitalism and its implications. Divide participants into small groups and assign each group a specific social problem, example, income inequality, environmental racism, exploitation of natural resources. They will brainstorm and discuss how capitalism may contribute to or exacerbate them. Invite each group to present their findings and insights to the larger group and discuss them to analyze and reflect the issue. Encourage participants to ask questions, share additional examples, and critically examine the impacts of capitalism on society and the environment. Provide participants with a real-life case study that exemplifies the effects of capitalism on social divisions. Participants can work individually or in pairs to analyze the case study, identify key factors, and discuss the ethical, economic, and social implications. Conduct a values exploration activity to delve deeper into their personal beliefs and attitudes towards capitalism, social justice, and environmental sustainability. Encourage them to reflect on their values, those promoted by capitalism, and potential conflicts that may arise. Facilitate a discussion on alternative economic systems and models that aim to address social problems and promote environmental sustainability, like sustainable economics, cooperative models, and community-based initiatives. Conduct an action planning exercise to brainstorm and identify specific actions they can take to address social and climate change problems. Encourage participants to think both individually and collectively, considering actions at personal, community, and systemic levels. Facilitate a closing discussion where participants can share their reflections, insights, and commitments to addressing social and climate change issues. An activity to work about racism and individualism that affect the division of perspectives towards climate change could be Equality Together. This activity promotes critical thinking, dialogue, and empathy on the intersecting challenges faced by marginalized communities. Instructions. Introduce topics like racism and individualism, and conduct a warm-up activity to reflect on participants' own experiences and perceptions of them. Facilitate a group discussion to define and explore these concepts and discuss the ways in which they intersect with climate change issues. Provide participants with a case study about the intersection of racism, individualism, and climate change, and, in groups, analyze and discuss key factors and impacts on marginalized communities. Encourage critical thinking and reflection. Divide participants into pairs, pairing individuals from different backgrounds or perspectives, to share their personal experiences, beliefs, and challenges related to racism, individualism, and climate change. Encourage active listening and empathy building. Lead a guided reflection session to individually reflect on the perspective exchange activity, and facilitate a group sharing session, encouraging respect and open dialogue. Provide participants with a creative outlet, such as art supplies, writing materials, or multimedia tools, to express their thoughts, emotions, or messages about these topics through their chosen medium. Give them time to create their artworks individually. Arrange the created artworks in a gallery-style setup, and conduct a gallery walk where participants can view and appreciate each other's creations, and discuss or ask about the messages, emotions, and insights conveyed through the artworks. Let participants brainstorm and identify specific actions they can take to address racism, individualism, and climate change, through short-term and long-term strategies. Facilitate a closing discussion where participants can share their insights and commitments. The Sustainable Lifestyle Workshop is an activity to work on consumerism and growthism, so that young people can develop awareness about the impact of such concepts, and explore sustainable alternatives and more conscious and responsible choices. Instructions. Explain the concepts of consumerism, growthism, and gadgetism, and how they contribute to overconsumption, resource depletion, and environmental degradation. Emphasize the importance of adopting sustainable lifestyles to mitigate climate change. Encourage participants to assess their own consumer habits, attitudes towards material possessions, and the impact of their consumption patterns on the environment. Divide participants into small groups and assign them specific discussion topics related to consumerism, fast fashion, single-use plastics, electronic waste, excessive packaging, its environmental impacts, underlying causes, and brainstorm alternative solutions. Facilitate a group discussion to share sustainable lifestyles ideas, tips, and strategies for reducing consumption, making mindful purchasing decisions, and promoting a circular economy. They can be shared with the wider community. Carry a hands-on activity to promote sustainable alternatives to consumerism, DIY workshop to upcycle items, create eco-friendly products, or a sustainable garden. Guide participants in developing individual or group action plans to implement sustainable changes in their daily lives. Provide resources and support to facilitate their action plans. Discuss the potential impact of individual actions in addressing consumerism on a larger scale. Discuss what worked well during the activity and areas for improvement. The activity, The Climate Diaspora, can help youth workers to raise awareness, promote empathy, and contribute to positive change in their communities by creating awareness materials and engaging participants in dialogue. Instructions. Introduce the topic of climate change, migration, and refugees to the participants and conduct an icebreaker activity to create a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere. Facilitate a discussion on the topic, its causes, and impacts on communities around the world. Encourage participants to share their knowledge, personal experiences, and observations. Provide relevant statistics to illustrate climate refugees' real-life challenges. Share personal stories or testimonies of individuals who have been directly affected by climate change migration. Tell participants to imagine themselves in their shoes. Divide participants into small groups and assign each group a specific form of media, example, poster, video, social media campaign, to create awareness materials that educate others about the issue. Encourage creativity and effective messaging. Moreover, social networks often perpetuate unrealistic beauty standards, as individuals frequently present themselves in a highly edited and filtered manner, creating an unrealistic expectation of what constitutes attractiveness, which can contribute to body dissatisfaction and negative self-perception. Seeing others seemingly effortlessly achieving these beauty ideals can lead to feelings of pressure, frustration, and a constant need to strive for unattainable perfection. Another aspect of social networks that can contribute to psychological distress is the tendency for individuals to present an idealized version of their own lives. People often selectively share positive aspects and milestones, creating a skewed perception of reality. It easily creates a sense of inadequacy and envy in others, who may perceive their own lives as lacking in comparison. The constant exposure to these curated representations of each group presents their awareness materials to the rest of the participants and, as a group, reflect on the effectiveness of the materials to raise awareness and empathy. Invite a guest speaker or show a pre-recorded video featuring an expert in the field of climate change, migration, and refugee issues, to provide additional insights, share success stories of community support, and highlight opportunities for action. Facilitate a group dialogue to encourage participants to share their thoughts and questions. Facilitate a space where participants brainstorm, and identify specific actions they or their community can take to support climate change migrants and refugees. Discuss the importance of collaboration and networking to maximize the impact of their actions. Provide time for participants to make personal commitments to take action, fostering a sense of accountability and collective responsibility, and express your gratitude to them. In order to work on social justice in climate change, youth workers can carry the activity Climate Justice Dialogue. Through this activity, young people can develop a deeper understanding of climate justice issues and explore ways to address them in their climate change-related work. It promotes empathy, dialogue, and collaborative problem solving, empowering participants to become advocates for social justice within the climate change context. Instructions. Introduce the concept of climate justice and discuss the importance of addressing social inequalities, inequities, and systemic injustices in climate action. Assign different perspectives, indigenous communities, marginalized populations, or developing countries to smaller groups, which should research and discuss the challenges, impacts, and injustices faced by their assigned perspective in the context of climate change. Facilitate a group discussion while each group will share their findings. Encourage active listening and empathy building while learning commonalities, differences, and the interconnections between various perspectives. Introduce the concept of power structures and how they contribute to climate injustice. Discuss the role of privilege, socio-economic factors, and systemic inequalities, at various levels, global, national, and local, in shaping climate injustice, fostering critical analysis. Divide participants into new groups and assign them the task of brainstorming solutions to address climate justice issues. Encourage creative and innovative ideas that promote equity, inclusivity, and social justice. Facilitate a discussion of the proposed solutions. Collaboratively develop an action plan based on the identified solutions. Discuss strategies for advocacy, community engagement, and policy influence to address climate justice issues. Conduct regular reflection sessions to assess progress and challenges faced during the implementation of the action plan. During our youth work, we can carry out the activity, Cultural Exchange and Collaboration Workshop, to work on the importance of interculturality and transnationality in the climate change fight. Young people can develop a deeper appreciation for cultural diversity, foster intercultural understanding, and recognize the value of climate collaboration. Explain and discuss how different cultures and perspectives can contribute unique insights and solutions to environmental challenges. Emphasize the value of collaboration and cooperation among young people from diverse backgrounds. Divide participants into small groups, ensuring a mix of cultural backgrounds and nationalities in each group. Encourage participants to share their cultural identities. Provide each group with a climate change case study from different regions or countries. Assign the groups the task of analyzing the case study, identifying the specific challenges, impacts, and responses to climate change in that particular context. Encourage participants to exchange ideas, compare different approaches, and identify similarities and differences between their own cultures and the cultures presented in the case studies. Prompt participants to consider cross-cultural collaborations. Each group should present their case study analysis, highlighting its unique perspectives, and facilitate a discussion after each presentation, allowing participants to ask questions. Engage participants in a collaborative project that promotes intercultural understanding and transnational cooperation in addressing climate change. It could involve designing and implementing a joint climate action initiative or organizing a virtual conference or webinar. To enhance the engagement of disadvantaged youth in the context of climate change initiatives, we could carry out, with a group of young people, the activity Empowering Disadvantaged Youth for Climate Action. It aims to empower disadvantaged youth, providing them with the knowledge, skills, and support to engage in climate action, encourage their active participation and leadership, and have their voices heard. Instructions. Conduct an icebreaker activity to create a positive and inclusive atmosphere and introduce the topic and its impact on communities, emphasizing its relevance to the participants' lives. Provide a safe space for participants to share their personal stories and experiences related to climate change, and facilitate a discussion on the specific challenges and barriers faced by disadvantaged youth in engaging with climate action. Prepare interactive presentations, infographics, videos, or engaging visuals that aid in simplifying complex climate change concepts and facilitate participation. Break down climate action into actionable steps and showcase success stories of youth-led initiatives. Divide participants into small groups and assign them a specific climate change-related challenge or issue, so that they can brainstorm ideas for addressing the assigned challenge. Encourage creativity, collaboration, and out-of-the-box thinking. Provide mentorship and guidance to each group as they develop their action plans, identifying feasible steps, available resources, and potential partnerships. Emphasize the importance of setting SMART goals for their initiatives. Each group presents their action plans, while constructive feedback and suggestions from peers will be encouraged. Facilitate a supportive and collaborative environment where participants learn from each other's ideas and experiences. Organize skills development workshops related to climate action, such as project management, communication, fundraising, or advocacy. Invite guest speakers or experts to share their knowledge and experiences. Provide hands-on activities and resources to enhance participants' skills and build their confidence. Encourage participants to take their action plans beyond the workshop and implement them in their communities. Support them in accessing resources and connecting with local organizations. Promote communication and collaboration to foster a sense of community. Celebrate their achievements, no matter how small, and acknowledge their efforts. We can motivate young people and promote their engagement and learning through the hands-on activity, creating a permaculture community garden. By following permaculture principles and fostering a sense of community ownership, participants can contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts, while enhancing their understanding of sustainable living practices. The activity also emphasizes the importance of community engagement, education, and long-term maintenance to ensure the garden's success, and the cultivation of a resilient and environmentally conscious community. Instructions. Introduce the concept of permaculture and its relevance to sustainable living and climate change mitigation. Provide background information on the benefits of community gardens and their role in promoting food security, biodiversity, and environmental resilience. Take participants on a site visit to assess a potential location for the community garden. Conduct a hands-on exercise where participants analyze the site's soil quality, sun exposure, water availability, and other relevant factors. Facilitate a group discussion to brainstorm and design the layout of the garden, considering permaculture principles. Divide participants into smaller groups and assign specific tasks related to garden planning and resource mobilization, creating a planting schedule, researching suitable plant species, sourcing materials, and organizing fundraising, community engagement activities, etc. Organize hands-on work sessions where participants, with guidance, start implementing the garden plan, clearing the area, building raised beds, preparing the soil, planting seeds or seedlings, installing irrigation systems or composting bins, etc. Ensure participants understand and follow sustainable gardening practices, avoiding synthetic pesticides, etc. Organize events, educational sessions, or workshops on permaculture principles, sustainable gardening techniques, or the importance of local food production to engage the wider community in the garden project. Encourage participants to share their knowledge. Establish a schedule for regular garden maintenance tasks, watering, weeding, and pest control. Guide participants in monitoring plant growth, identifying pests or diseases, and taking appropriate actions. Organize harvesting and food preservation events. Facilitate group discussions where participants share their learnings, challenges encountered, and the impact of the project on themselves and the community. Encourage participants to document the project's progress through photographs, videos, and texts, and assist them in creating a blog or social media page to share knowledge. External resources and materials with interactive links. The following are further external resources and materials that may be helpful for those interested in addressing the social origins, aspects, and perspectives of climate change, and how to engage youth to tackle it. Why does society divide itself into smaller categories of people over time, in-group and out-group formation? 6 young leaders explain how they're building a culture of peace through inclusion and participation. This article promotes education and social programs that support marginalized groups. Community engagement for environmental justice and sustainability. This text highlights the relevance of meaningful involvement of everyone in a community in the creation of environmental laws and policies. 3 ways to engage young people for effective climate action. Young people's response to the climate crisis. The importance of international collaboration in tackling climate change. Global collaboration between institutions and faculty to find the answers and influence change. Resources for teaching about race and racism with the New York Times, a curated collection of over 75 lesson plans, writing prompts, short films and graphs relating to racism and racial justice. 6 classroom activities to spark discussion of racism and privilege, race and prejudice guidelines for educators. What capitalism is and how it affects people, what capitalism is, how it works, and who is for and against it. Capitalism, lesson about capitalism. How capitalism started, and why it still matters, essay. 238 Capitalism essay topics and examples, best capitalism topic ideas and essay examples to work with young people. A collection of TED Talks, and more on the topic of capitalism. 7 ways to be a responsible consumer, tips and advice on how to become a responsible consumer. A collection of TED Talks, and more on the topic of consumerism. The Global Eco-Awakening, how consumers are driving sustainability. Today, consumers around the world do want to live more sustainably. How to avoid the trap of consumerism, 13 strategies. How do we avoid consumerism in a world that's engineered to make us endlessly desire more? 5 ways small actions have huge power, the little things matter. Climate migration, a growing global crisis. Migration is expected to soar by 2050 unless carbon emissions are rapidly curbed. Does the climate change movement have a class problem? How fighting climate change has been held back by class division. Gender and interculturality in the context of climate change. How the incorporation of gender and intercultural perspectives in climate action and biodiversity conservation can help people in situations of greater social vulnerability to improve their quality of life. Addressing climate changes with indigenous knowledges and intercultural collaborations. The value of indigenous peoples' knowledge systems, wisdom and practices that have enabled survival for thousands of years. The economic and social empowerment of youth, tackling poverty and marginalization, and advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. Importance and benefits of youth empowerment to society. Youth is the hope of the future and the actual strength of a nation as well. Food and social injustices impact on climate change, 3 very prevalent issues that are so very much interconnected. Community garden tips, what it's like to join a community garden. Top community garden tips. Top 10 community service ideas for tweens and teens, fun and unique volunteer ideas for tweens and teens. 9 tips on how to be a reflective youth worker, an infographic to help youth workers to be more reflective in their practice.